After a strong finish to the 2025 college football season, Arch Manning is the consensus QB1 and a top 10 player in the NFL draft.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast. I'm Damian Parson. That's Keith Sanchez. And on today's episode, we start our summer scouting series for the 2027 NFL Draft. And we're kicking it off with the biggest name at the quarterback position. That is Arch Manning out of Texas. We're going to explain the grade, break down our concerns with his game, and then we'll start the show off with the pros. Keith, let's get into let's kick off the summer scouting series.
Summer Scouting Series. Talking tomorrow's stars before the hype.
Arch Manning, Keith, quarterback for Texas, last year came into the season as I think a lot of people's QB1. And I think I came on here and I was like, yeah, I'm not there with Arch Manning to be QB1 coming off a one start, and it was against Mississippi State. For anybody, if anybody has his QB1 right now, I have no problem with it. He earned that playing the way he played with the projection baked in going into this season. Given the full season, seeing him battle the highs and lows, things like that. Keith, 61.4% of his passes completed, 3,163 passing yards on the season, 36 total touchdowns. When you watch him, Keith, what's the top things that stand out for you with Arch Manning as a prospect?
Yeah, usually this is not utilized for quarterbacks, right? I think it's utilized for wide receivers, running backs, different, maybe corners, right? Defensive linemen. But the first thing I want to say is that he's scheme versatile, in my opinion, DP. I think this is a young man that can do it all. And I think Texas showed that, right? Even last year's film, and it wasn't the best of the best film, right? It wasn't great film, but I think you've seen him push the ball down the field, right? So I think you've seen him come off a play action. I think you've seen him do bootlegs. He did the quick screen, bubble screen, situation. He did RPOs. When I watched him, I kept saying, well-rounded. I think he's a well-rounded quarterback that he can do it all. And I think as we project him into the season and into being a draft prospect, right? I don't think we're going to have to get to, January, February, March, April and say, hey, I think he only can play in this scheme, right? Of course, there are better schemes than others, but I don't think it's a situation where I'm saying, please keep him away from that, because in my opinion, he showcased everything. So the number one thing that I got was he's scheme versatile and a well-rounded quarterback.
No, I mean, that's a very, very good point. I mean, he's dual threat, gives you, I mean, he's also 6'4".
Yeah, I didn't even talk about running ability. Yeah.
Like 6'4", like 220. He gives you that plus level athleticism, which I really appreciate. You saw that, especially in the game against Texas A&M, where he ran for like 155 yards and everything in that game. I think for me, Keith, like I said, the dual threat ability, the pocket mobility, he evades the rush, able to climb the pocket, escape pressure, and find open receivers, or as we just talked about with 155 rush yards against Texas A&M, just use his legs as a weapon, right? So you got a big quarterback. This is not Peyton and Eli Manning. I know that the Manning name is attached to him, but he is far different than his uncles. Like he's nothing like them. Like neither one of those guys were going to rush for 150 yards. You walked out of some games where they might have negative rushing yards. You know what I mean? Like
if you gave them 149, I don't know if they get to 150, right?
Exactly.
It wasn't their game.
It wasn't their game. They played more so from the neck up, being cerebral and everything like that in the pocket, right? Especially Peyton. I don't see that. I don't think he's that cerebral type of guy. I think he's more physically gifted, right? But I do see what I really like, especially later in the season, anticipatory throws. I think it was at Mississippi State. I don't know what it is about him in Mississippi State, but he finds himself against the Bulldogs, Keith, and because he started the season not really rocky, right? Like Ohio State wasn't good.
Well, and I finish your point, and then let's jump into that. Finish your point. I didn't mean to
no, you're good. You're good. He started the season all kind of rocky, but he started to find himself, and I think it was that stretch of. Oh yeah, because Kentucky wasn't great for him, but he hit the ground run against Mississippi State. They went to overtime. And I remember coming on here and I did a Watch the Tape Wednesday show. And I was like, yeah, Arch is figuring it out. And you saw it in that Mississippi State game. And it just kind of trickled down from that point forward where this dude is letting the ball rip before guys are breaking. You know what I mean? Like just getting the ball out of his hands. He's anticipating the breaks. He's getting the ball out early and throwing it to him, right? So I love the anticipatory throws. And then honestly, Keith, for a first-year starter, he was almost money against the blitz. Like if you showed him simulated pressure or you start kind of walking guys up on the line of scrimmage, he'll make his pre-snap adjustments. And as Kurt Warner always says, find your hot, find your answer. He processed quickly and he got to it. I liked a lot of what I saw from him, especially down the back stretch of the season where I'm like, okay, this is how you put yourself in position to be in the QB1 conversation or to dominate the QB1 conversation. You finish the season strong.
Yeah. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to finish with more pros that I've seen with Archman. And then I'm going to tell our listeners, listen, stay for the entire show because the last segment, what I explained the grade, I'm going to pull back a lot of layers, DP. And I have a lot to say about this situation. That I think that Arch was heavily criticized and there was context added to this, but I think in hindsight now, there's a lot of context that could be added to what was going on. And we'll have the discussion. I want to know if you've seen also. But sticking with the pros, DP, I also thought that he was a quarterback that gave his wide receiver chances. Talking about those one-on-one footballs, those 50-50 balls, right? Like he and was willing to sometimes fit it into tight windows to say, hey, go get it, right? Like I'm giving you a shot to go get the football. And I always say this, that, and I use these two guys as comparisons all the time, right? There's the Jameis Winstons of the world, right? Where you know that, listen, you may throw 2 interceptions, but he has the shot to throw 5 touchdowns, right? And then there's the Jimmy Garoppolo's of the world where he may not throw 2 interceptions, maybe only be 1, but he's not throwing more than 2 touchdowns in a game, right? Like there's a cap to it, and it comes down to those type of throws, right? Like the one-on-one shots and being willing to take them. I thought watching it, I thought he gave his wide receiver shots, and as a wide receiver, that's all you can want, right? If I'm running vertical, hey, it's me and the DB, throw it. Let's see what happens. Yeah. And I think he consistently gave him those opportunities. I thought another pro. I thought that he got better working through the pocket, stepping up, and then not just stepping up and taking his eyes down, but stepping up and then trying to find somewhere to deliver the football. I thought that his feet became calmer and more quieter, even working, right? Like it wasn't a panic escape. It was all right, cool, this coming, evade, get out the way, right? Like and then just manipulating the pocket. And if he has to escape the pocket, but stepping up and being able to keep his eyes downfield. So I thought he did well at that too.
Yeah, no, I think it was I ended up watching the game that really they lost the game, but it was the Georgia game, and I saw like not want to say a bunch of flashes, but good amount of flashes of okay, we get this consistently for a full game. Like, yeah, it won't be it will be very hard for another quarterback to take the QB1 spot from you. The anticipatory throws, the drive throws, the moving in the pocket.
I thought there were quite a few where he hit the whole shots, where it looked like it was covered or something like that, right? And he hit the shots, and I think one of them against Georgia might have been like a cover 2 sink, and there wasn't that underneath receiver to hold that corner, so that corner kept bailing, kept falling, right. But he was still able to fit in between the corner and the safety, and I've seen him do that multiple times. Just throw the ball and fit it in there, which shows the touch. Like you said, anticipation, ball trajectory, understanding how to get it over the corner and in front of the safety. So I thought that was impressive too.
Yeah, no, that Georgia game, he had anticipatory throws in multiple layers at multiple areas of the field. Heck, he threw one to down the left sideline to Ryan Wingo. I think go back to your point of giving your guys a chance. They had Ryan Wingo as one of their fastest receivers, right? Fastest playmakers. So they sent him on the go route, and Arch gave him a shot. Right, but if anybody's watched Texas's film, Ryan Wingo doesn't catch everything. He drops a decent amount of passes. So this ball was like Arch, like granted, like he had to change his path a little bit because he was, down the left sideline. He's on the outside. Arch throws him more inside, so he crosses over to the inside. But when you cross over, you're open. Like so, he was open. Ball went straight through his hands. I was like, okay, like this is why they went and got a Cam Coleman. I mean, I see now. I get it. Like this is why you go get one of the best receivers in the SEC who was hampered by quarterback play and bring him in to be the Superman of your wide receiver room. A lot to like and a lot to love for Arch Manning's film from a pro standpoint, Keith.
Yep, I agree with DP. Let's do this, man. You know what we always do. We keep things even, right? We flip perspectives, right? We talked about the pros, the best things of Arch Manning. Let's talk about the concerns, right? There is a reason why there is some conversation around Arch Manning. We're going to continue to unfold this conversation, right? And talk about what are the concerns for Arch Manning? What did he do not great? What does he need to improve on? And we're going to have that discussion coming up.
Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. The NBA playoffs are here, and every possession matters. If you're looking to get even closer to the action, FanDuel has a great offer to get you started. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. That's right. Turn $5 into $150 in bonus bets just for getting started. And guys, I love using FanDuel during the NBA playoffs because everything I need is right there in one place. You can check stats, trends, and matchups before making your picks, which makes the whole experience feel a lot more informed. Whether you're looking at player props or just following your favorite stars, it adds another level and layer of excitement to every single game. And it's a really easy app to navigate. And it makes playoff basketball even more engaging from start to finish. And on FanDuel Sportsbook right now, for the NBA Finals Game 1, the New York Knicks on Wednesday night are already a 5.5-point underdog to the San Antonio Spurs. So head to FanDuel.com to get started. FanDuel, play your game. Breaking down the concerns for Texas quarterback Arch Manning, Keith. When I looked at his game, I think we talked about it throughout the season. For those who, everydayers, appreciate you. Not an everydayer, fix it. It was a constant sidearm low throwing motion that negatively impacted his accuracy and ball placement. Because typically, Keith, when you see guys, unless you're Phillip Rivers, you don't see guys just throw sidearm consistently like that, like snap to snap. And early in the season, he was doing that a ton. And they're just like, all right, you got a guy on a curl route at 10 yards, and instead of just naturally throwing the ball to him, you're sidearming it. And like you're moving him off his spot, like it's inaccurate. Like the Ohio State game for him, he had a lot of those sidearms and things like that. And then you keep going through the season. I felt like he started to tweak it a little bit late in the season to where I start seeing him throw more overhanded. But the sidearms and the like it's against Georgia, he had pressure. No, he didn't have pressure right in his face, but he dropped back and he had pressure. He did have pressure. He moved. He shuffled, he moved, he reset, and he sidearmed it. You got an OTB route right in front of you, and the guy's wide open. You threw him right to the safety or to the linebacker, and I'm like, Arch, no, like he's dead in front of you. So it's like the accuracy kind of waned and came in and out during the season, and then his lower body mechanics were off too. Like he's very toesy in the pocket, and it's just weird because you're a Manning, so you expect mechanically you should be what you should be, right? Like you come from football royalty, there's a lot of Super Bowls in that bloodline and a lot of quarterbacks. So I want to see him just kind of get better mechanically heading into this season, because I think that's what a lot of his inaccuracy issues come in. The inaccuracy issues I saw, it was tied to his mechanics.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk about the sidearm action, DP, and I wondered if it was intentional. Right. And what I mean by that is the sidearm throw kind of, I'm trying to find a good parallel, right? Is that like the Euro step of the past, right? Remember like the Euro step came about and then everybody did the Euro step. And then now we got the step back three and everybody's launching threes, right? And what I'm saying is that, that like they're deciding like, hey, let me sidearm this, right? Like, and I wonder if, because I noticed it too, and I think it was the Georgia game. It was one other game I watched where I'm like, he's consistently doing it. Well, he's consistently like, and you see him throw with the traditional arm angle, right? Like he can't do it. So I just didn't know what it was, but I agree with you that
because he didn't do that in 2024. Keith, he didn't throw sidearm like that in 2024.
That's what I'm saying. So I don't know if he feel as though he added something to his bag. That's what I'm trying to say. He might feel like it might be an experiment. You get what I'm saying? Like it might be an intentional addition. Like he might be like, hey, I added this.
No, I know he did. I don't know if this might have played a part, Keith. I do remember I had to pull up to remember the exact thing. He underwent like a minor foot surgery in January of this year, like a couple months ago. That was an issue that lingered issue that happened. It happened in the 2024 season, and I guess it lingered throughout the 2025 season with his foot. So maybe that had something to do with his mechanics and the sidearm and stuff like that, and just taking some of the pressure off of like planting and driving with his feet and everything. But then you see him run, and it was like, well, he looks fine to me. So I don't know. Yeah. I just seen that he did. I remember him having the report back in January, him having a minor foot surgery. It was like more preventative to clean up a little lingering issue. So hopefully, like I think they said like in April, he said he feels 100%. And if he's not been 100% since 2024, that could be the reason,
Right. Yep. I'm gonna go with this too as a area of improvement, and was a little bit of a concern. I think the deep shots and locking in on the receiver pre-snap and not coming off of it. He did it against Ohio State. He threw it into double coverage. He did it against Georgia. I want to say he threw it in a double coverage. And listen, one-on-one shots I'm all for, right? But when you have the corner running underneath and then a safety over top and it's a vertical shot, that's not a good
decision.
It's not a good decision. Yeah. It's just probably check it down, right? And so I think understanding like, hey, we're going to, because the Ohio State game I watched first, and he did it. And I'm saying, okay, like understanding the rhythm of the game, defensively, Ohio State got 20 first rounders, right? Just trying to take a shot, right? But then I think he did it again against Georgia. And I was just like, I'm not a fan of that, right? Like, don't keep doing that, especially, in Georgia, you're trying to come back, you're trying to win the game. And honestly, you're fighting for your season because you already had at least one loss because of the Ohio State situation. So I think he has to, cool, all right, I have it dialed up, take the deep shot. And then once you see that thing double covered, it's just not the time to throw it. Get back to your check down, dump it off, and then make a play via that situation. Or even if you tuck it and run yourself, right? Because as we elevate and you talk about some of the better safeties in the NFL and just elevated defensive backs, that's interceptions, right? Like those cornerbacks or those safeties, they're picking that football off and then they're running back the other way with it.
No, 100%. I definitely saw that same thing where it's just kind of it's not so much of the confirm or declare. He just stuck with what he saw. And instead of just kind of, like you said, reading it, understanding, I always say for quarterbacks, every snap is a multiple choice question. If the equation is 2 + 2 = what? And if A is 7, that's not it. Like, it's not 7, right? So come off of that read and get to the right answer, get to, especially time tests, right? Like, hey, it's timely. We got to get through this test. Make sure you get all your questions answered, in school. So it's the same thing. Like, come off of that read. And I want to see him do a better job with that. Keith, I think for me, physically, right? We talked about it like 6'4". Heck, I don't even know if he's finished growing. He might end up being 6'5" when he declares for the NFL draft, right? He's 220, big kid, strong frame. He's got a good arm. His arm to me isn't great. I like his velocity in the short to intermediate, especially short. And everything inside 10 yards, 10 to 15. But like when he's throwing the ball vertically, that ball lingers in the air a bit. Like it catches some wind and it just kind of hangs. And I'm like you talk about the NFL, like if you're dealing with say you're playing the Ravens, right? Like, and they're going, cover 3 or cover 1. You got Malachi Starks at the top of the defense, right? That's a guy with range. You saw him last year when you played him when you faced him. In Georgia and everything. Like you seen them, when you were there. You kind of want to make sure that you're not like giving these safeties an opportunity, right? So it's like the vertical shots, I felt like his passes hanged. And then like I was watching like him attempt some like those far hash sideline throws, and they hung in the air a bit. And I'm just like, okay. And I'm just trying to gauge the arm strength for him, like the arm talent. I want to see him live this college football season so I can really see him, just see if the ball truly pops off his arm and everything. Like he throws with a good, especially down the field. It's got a good arc to it and everything. He gets air underneath it, but it's more so for me. It's like, all right, when I see the ball take a minute to get there, and you're giving like there, I think that far hash the sideline throw, his receiver was open, but because the ball kind of hung in the air, that cornerback was able to close because he got beat quickly, but he's able to close the space and get the PBU on it and knock the ball down. I'm like, hey, third downs, in the NFL, those are money downs. You got to be able to convert those situations. So I want to see him just kind of see get a better gauge of that arm, like really get a better gauge of it. Because right now, I think it's good. I don't think it's great.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And we have Darius and Mensah tomorrow, right? And we've watched those guys back to back. And I think that was a good barometer, right? And I will leave it at that because we have to have a conversation about Darius and Mensah on tomorrow's podcast. But DP, let's do this, man. Let's go ahead and transition one more time. We're going to explain the grade. I told you at the top of the show, I have some things I got to get off my chest. I have some things I need to say. So we're going to explain the grade, and I'm going to add more context, in my opinion, to this Arch Manning situation. I know there's a lot of people being critical of him, but I think in hindsight, there's a bigger conversation to be had about Arch Manning and his level of play. Let's discuss that coming up next.
Workplace chaos, deadline stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position you still have to fill, it's sitting open. When the pressure's on and you need the right hire, this is a job for Sponsored Jobs. Indeed, Sponsored Jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for. Skills, experience, location, so you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed Sponsored Jobs. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen of the day. And thank you for making the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcast network in America. It's all because of you. Arch Manning keeps explaining the grade and having that, flush out that conversation. I'm going to give you the floor. What grade did you give Arch Manning heading into the 2026 college football season and 2027 NFL draft season?
Yeah, so I gave him a first round grade, DP. I didn't put him in the rare all pro caliber. I put him in the Pro Bowl caliber. That's what I think he can live at. I think he can be in that space. And I'll go this. I think he earned it. And this is the part that I've been waiting to get to, is that when you watch Texas, that's not the Texas that everybody thought was Texas. And what I mean is that you jumped into the Ryan Wingo conversation, right? And you talked about how there were drop passes. There were drop passes by almost everybody. This offense was not great. And I think what we have to do is, as talent evaluators in media, is start adding context early in the season. Is that, because teams are preseason number one, and that's what Texas was, right? But when you now live in a day of the transfer portal and you potentially have 11 new starters, you can't say, like, it's not the same, right? You have to watch the games and then say, hey, maybe Texas as a football team is not as good as we thought they were. Because what I was watching, DP, when I finished watching it, I'm like, this Texas offense wasn't great, right? It wasn't just an Arch thing. And I'll say this, that I thought that Arch, there are probably only 5 to 7 other college quarterbacks that would have got this team to only be a 3-loss team. Because this team, they were on the brink, and we didn't have this conversation, DP, but 2 of the biggest disappointments last year, right? LSU and Clemson, right? Where the bar was set really high and they didn't touch it. Texas came into the season, I believe, as the #1 ranked team, and they had 3 losses, right? You don't get 3 losses with just Arch Manning not playing great football, right? Like your team isn't great. And even I watching the Mississippi State game, DP, that was Arch Manning willing them to a win, in my opinion, because there were still balls that were, I think, dropped by the tight end. There were balls that were dropped by the wide receivers, where it was like I think it was a crossing route, and it hit him square in the hands. And if he catches that, he has 20, 30 yards. He might hit his head on a goalpost. He had that much field in front of him, but he dropped the football. So I left it saying, like, hold on. There's a lot more conversation and context that needs to be added to this Arch Manning situation as far as the talent level, what was surrounded by him. It wasn't him disappointing the entire Texas team. It was the Texas team also needed to elevate their play.
No, yeah, I agree. Heck, like I said, I invoked the Ryan Wingo conversation. Like some of those drops were criminal. Like you dropping bubble screens and wide receiver screen, like routes on air. Like you're just dropping them.
I'll even say this, right? And as somebody was on the sideline watching Joe Burrow operate with Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson, right?
Mm-hmm.
Joe Burrow gave Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson opportunities to make plays, and they made them. And there were times, and I talked about this in the pros part, where Arch will give you a shot, right? I thought that was a pro, but there were times he gave the wide receiver shots, and they didn't make the play. Right. And you talk about an explosive play versus, okay, now it's 2nd and 10. Now it's 3rd and 10. Right. And the last thing I wanted to hit on was, in hindsight, the big lead up, right? You had the LSU Clemson game, and then you had the Texas Ohio State game, right? Like that set the tone for college football. And Arch Manning didn't play well.
Right.
Now, knowing what we know about that Ohio State defense, what do we say now? Right? That Ohio State defense had 3 first-rounders on it.
Yeah.
Like just a team littered with NFL draft picks, right? And 2 of the freakier athletes we've seen in Arvell Reese and Sonny Styles. So tell me how many quarterbacks is going to dice them up for 400 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, no, I mean, Keith, you know how I felt about Arch coming into this. I'm like, he's got to show me something. He's got, you know, and I know that week 1, I know that I was like, this is a game that it was going to be the barometer for a lot of people. And, you know, especially you have certain analysts going on TV saying he was generational. And I'm like, you know, you can't do that to that young man. That's not fair to him. You know what I mean? Like to be like, oh, he's generational. And then when he does go out and play Ohio, you think Ohio State hadn't heard those comments from some of the
he wasn't motivated,
homerisms of those SEC analysts for a specific network? Like, yeah, those Ohio State players, Caleb Downs heard it, Sonny Styles heard it, or Arvell Reese heard it. All those boys heard it. So then when they're out there, Matt Patricia's like, okay, I'm gonna show you what the NFL looks like defensively, Arch. Like, and he had a master game plan for that young man. But it was just one game, right? And he had to find himself. And like I said, that Mississippi State game, I don't know what it is about Mississippi State, but he finds himself against Mississippi State because he really got into a rhythm, into a flow. And once he that's the game where, you know, he was talking like draft tapes, like, hey, what's that one game for that prospect? It's the Mississippi State game. Like, there's no other game to me. It was that
game last year for me too. Like that, and that's why I felt like I could put him at QB1 because of the Mississippi State game last year, where I'm watching him throw with anticipation. I'm watching him, you know, throw different route concepts on time, and he's putting the ball in between linebackers. Now, obviously, that didn't directly translate into next season, but I was just like, that was pretty doggone good, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was great. He looked good. Like, and I mean, that's the game, especially the 2025 game. And we'll see what happens to 2026. Maybe he has 3 or 4 games like that, Keith, where it's just like he's dialed in from a passing standpoint. You're like, okay, this is what it looks like. This is what Arch Manning first pick in the draft QB1 is supposed to look like. And we've seen flashes of it. Now I want to see consistency from me from a grade standpoint. I gave him a first round as well, Keith. I gave him a top 10 grade. I projected him to be in that top 10. We did at Blitz Report, we did our way too early mock draft. He was my QB2 behind the guy we're going to talk about tomorrow, Darius Mensah.
I have a question.
I got him as a top 10 prospect right now.
Do you think he would have been a first round pick this year?
Absolutely. Yes.
I believe so.
100%.
100%. I believe so too. If the right
Simpson went 13th. Arch Manning was going top 10. If he came out okay. The Cardinals, like, what they drafted Jeremiah Love? No, not even Cardinals. Heck, the Jets at 2. Like he wasn't making past 2. You know what I mean?
Do you think it would have been? Do you think this is enough to have him in conversation for number 1 overall?
Nah, not enough. Not enough. I think what we saw from Fernando, big time moments, clutch moments, accuracy. You know, just everything. He put that full resume. Yeah, don't get me wrong. The same way we had some people argue for Ty because. Okay, some connections. We would have definitely had some people saying, listen, Arch has a case, right? Physically, he might have a case. for me, like the resume, because like I still need to see more, especially against big time opponents. Like the Texas A&M game, he was great as a runner. He had some good throws, and then he had some. I'm like, what is that arch? Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, all right, there's still too many peaks and valleys with him as a passer right now, or coming off of the season. Where man, I just need to see him give me a full year of this, right? Give me a full year of it, and I'm locked in. You know what I mean? And so I think he would have been second overall pick. New York Jets. Gino would have been sitting there like, oh, all right, I got a Manning behind me. Great. So that would have been David Bailey would have went somewhere else. Archman would have been second overall pick. I truly don't think there's a question for it. I think he would have been easily pegged in as a top 2 pick in the draft.
Okay. All right, cool. With DP, that wraps up another episode, man, of the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast. Want to end this podcast off by saying shout out to our everydayers. Thank you for tapping in with us each and every single day. I am Keith Sanchez. You can find me on X at The Talent Code. That right there is my guy, my co-host, Mr. Damian Parson. You can find him on X at DP_NFL. And like I like to say, man, y'all come talk to us because we like to talk back.
Go subscribe and follow for free on YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts, to get the latest episode as soon as it is available. Keith said it. I said it. Darius Mensah, his scouting report, his summer scouting report is coming up on tomorrow's show. Young man went from Tulane to Duke, won the ACC championship, and now he stayed in the ACC, but he's Miami's quarterback, taking over for Carson Beck and those Miami Hurricanes. So we're going to talk about his game, the pros, the cons, give you the grade, all of that on tomorrow's show. So come and join the conversation again tomorrow. The Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.